To experience a full salvation, it is very important to know the root of sin. Very often what people call sin is the fruit. We talk about, at the lowest level, things like smoking, drinking, gambling, and then we think we go deeper and say, okay, we talk about jealousy and pride and bad thoughts and anger. We think we have gone deeper. Yes, we have gone deeper than these other people who only think of fighting and quarreling as sin. But John the Baptist, who was the forerunner of Jesus, said that Jesus has come to lay the axe to the root of the tree. That's what he said in Matthew chapter 3. So it's very important for us to understand where the root is in our life, because if we don't hit at the root, the fruit will keep on coming. And we'll have to keep on cutting it off. It's like in disease, in the olden days, they could only treat a disease when it came out. It came out, get fever or a sore, and they put some ointment and deal with it when it comes out. But then, when, say, people discovered antibiotics, so you have a sore in your hand, and the doctor says, how they get rid of it is you take a tablet into your stomach, and an illiterate person can't understand that. An illiterate person says, how can this thing go by my eating something in the stomach? Because the doctor says the root of this is down there. And if you deal with it there in your blood, this will stop. But an illiterate person can't understand that. He thinks, no, you've got to put the ointment here. When you get rid of it here, it'll come here. So this is how it has been with many believers, even when they seek victory over sin. They think, I've got rid of it, but there's something else comes up. We have to allow Jesus to lay the axe to the root. And the root of sin is self-centeredness. In one word, it is when self is the center of our life. And the root of holiness is not reading the Bible and doing good things. It is when Christ becomes the center of our life. So if we can understand this simple truth, the root of sin is when self is the center of my life. And the root of holiness is when Christ is the center of my life. In other words, either everything revolves around me or everything in my life revolves around Christ. It's one of these two. And I often use the example of, in astronomy, for so many years, do you know that for thousands of years, man believed that the earth is the center not only of the solar system, but of the whole universe. Because they went by what they saw, and they could see the sun going round and coming back up again. So the earth is the center. They saw the moon going round and coming back. They saw even the stars going round and coming back. And it looked exactly as if the earth is the center of the universe. You can't blame people. Even clever people, Peter, Paul, they all believed that the earth was the center. But there was a man who decided to question that about 700-800 years ago. And he said, let me check up whether what my parents and grandparents and all believed is true. And he discovered they were wrong. And discovered that the earth is not even the center of the solar system. And that is how so many truths in science became discovered, and we got all our, equations and answers right when we found the right center. As long as man had not discovered the right center, something was wrong in their calculations and in their understanding of physics particularly. Something was wrong because the center was not right. And in our pursuit of holiness, always there will be a problem. If we think of this as sin and that as sin, and we try to get rid of this and try to judge ourselves, get rid of this habit and that habit, until you hit the root and discover what the right center should be, there'll always be a problem. You won't get the right answer. But when we see that Jesus came to hit the root, that means repentance means then what? Repentance means to turn around from a life centered in myself. Repentance is not just giving up some bad habits. It is turning from a life centered in myself to a life centered in Jesus Christ. When you understand that, you can never be deceived by a health, wealth gospel. When somebody tells you you're going to get money, is that centered around Christ or yourself? I say immediately I can make out that can't be the true gospel, because that's centered around me. That's not the real gospel. Or something more spiritual. You can go to heaven. Who is that centered around? Is that centered around Christ or me? We say that's more spiritual than believing that Jesus will make me rich or that Jesus will give me healing. Isn't it more spiritual? I'm not like those people who just talk about healing and wealth. I believe Jesus can take me to heaven or forgive my sin. Who's that centered around? You or Christ? It's you. Only thing, that fellow is looking for money and you're looking for heaven. But it's still you in the center. Man was created for the glory of God. You know what they sing in heaven? Thou art worthy, O Lord. Revelation 4. For thou hast created all things, and they exist to do your will. For your pleasure they were created. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's what Jesus taught us to pray. So we were created to be centered in God. And once you understand this, my dear brother, sister, many things will fall into place. Just like when man discovered that the sun is the center of the solar system and everything goes around it, all their calculations became right. So what does this mean in practical terms? I need to, when I say judge myself, it's not judging jealousy and pride and few little things, but going to the root of it. Is this a self-centered life that I'm living? I get hurt because somebody spoke rudely to me. Who's in the center of your life? You. That's why you get hurt. If you're not in the center of your life, but Christ, you're thinking of Christ being in the center, what does it matter if somebody said something to you, about you or to you or yelled at you? It's a question of where the center is. And that's what we see in the story of the prodigal son that we were just listening to. You know, in Luke 15, I want you to see, Jesus was talking about two backsliders here. First backslider was the younger son, and the second backslider is the older son, but he doesn't look like a backslider. And the one who does not look like a backslider is a more dangerous backslider than the other one. Because this is a story, Luke 15, where in the beginning of the story, the younger son is outside the house, far away, and the elder son is inside the house. And at the end of the story, the younger son is inside the house and the elder son is outside the house. That's how the story ends. In a nutshell, that is the story. So you got to find out how this younger son who was outside came inside and why the older son who was inside ended up outside, because we are all inside. You just got to make sure you don't end up on the outside. There's one thing both of them said. I want you to listen. The younger son, Luke 15:12, came to the father and said, Father, give me. Give me is the language of the self-centered man. Give me money. Give me healing. Give me forgiveness. Give me heaven. Give me a ministry. Whatever it is. It can be some spiritual things. Give me, give me, give me. Even give me holiness so that I will have a testimony in the church. And we think that the elder son is better. He never said, give me. He kept it all inside, all those years. And sometimes God allows a situation that brings out the corruption inside. It's a wonderful thing when God does that. When somebody who had done harm to me, I forgave him completely. I really did, to the best of my knowledge. I said, Lord, I've forgiven him. I've got nothing against him for whatever he did against me. But when I heard that something bad happened to him, I was happy. And the Lord said, you have not forgiven him. That's how I discovered. I discovered the corruption of my heart when something good happened to somebody else. It's exactly like the older son. Have you seen that? Have you ever seen it in your life when somebody you don't like, somebody you hate, maybe some relative or your boss or something good happens to them and you feel bad? That shows that your attitude is wrong. That's the time for you to judge yourself. But the elder son, he could have judged himself. Why am I feeling bad? That something good has happened to my younger brother. As long as something bad was happening to me, he was far away, he was quite happy. But something good happened to him, he suddenly felt bad. Do you find that in yourself, or am I only talking about myself? Judge yourself.